Is it time to reveal your real magic and become seen, known, and valued? Hello and welcome if you're here watching me live, or if you're watching the replay, welcome to today's Visionary Voices deep dive. And today we're exploring the topic of, is it resistance or is it divine timing? And how can you tell the difference? So if you're here with me, either live or in the replay, just drop in hashtag replay or drop in hello so we can connect with you and have a conversation on this, especially if you're watching this in the Visibility for Visionary Leaders Facebook group. That's where we can engage. Hi, Lila. Lovely to see you here today. So I hope you're having a great week. And if we haven't met before, if you're new to me, hi, I'm Rena Aiken. I am a deep dive visibility mindset mentor, and I help soulful business owners and creatives to overcome the blocks and the fears and the frozenness around visibility and really step forward to share your gifts and shine your light in the world, really shift your energy in a big way. So this topic, hi Jackie, lovely to see you here as well. And just gonna, yeah. So I think it's still on live. I'm just noticing my screen is freezing sometimes, but I think it's okay. It's still working. So is it resistance or is it divine timing? So what I want to cover with you on this topic today is to understand, in terms of divine timing, the value of embracing the different seasons that there are in our energy, in our life, and in the natural cycles of the world as well, and how we can harness the gifts of each season and how they each build on each other. And I want to discover the, really get clear on the unhealthy ways that we can flip rather than flow through these divine cycles, the ways that we can flip kind of in unhealthy ways from one to another, from overdoing to kind of stagnation. And also to learn how to recognize your resistance. Is it resistance? Is it divine time? It's not always easy. How do you recognize that? And how do you shift your habits of either hiding or your habits of striving into habits of shining, where you can just be magnetic? So I'd love to, hi Fra, lovely to see you here. I'd love to hear what's your experience around this? What is it that you already are aware of around navigating your resistance, trying to feel whether it's divine timing, underdoing and overdoing? I'd love to hear from you and hear what's your experience around this topic and what drew you here today. What is it that you're interested in this topic? And the starting place for this today is really compassion. Compassion for ourselves. There's no shame here. We all do this. We live in a culture and in a collective where this is the normal, to overworking and then, binging on TV or internet. That's what we're encouraged to do. It's not a healthy culture that we live in. So huge compassion for this. We're all on our growing edge with this as well. So just want to share this beautiful poem by Miller Williams called Compassion. And it's have compassion for everyone you meet, even if they don't want it. And I would add in there, have compassion for everyone you meet, including yourself, whether you're happy to give it to yourself or not. And because what seems conceit, bad manners, or cynicism is always a sign of things no ears have heard, no eyes have seen. And, what seems like resistance, what seems like, bad habits is always a sign of things no ears have seen, no ears have heard, no eyes have seen, and you do not know what is going on down there where spirit meets the bone. So that's why we need compassion, because we don't necessarily know what's going on down there where spirit meets the bone, what's underneath the resistance. So, and that's what we'll be doing a little bit of today, how you can turn towards the resistance, but bringing so much compassion. So there's no shaming around this. Resistance is normal. So yes, thank you for that compliment on my effort for that. Thank you. So just share with me your experience with this. What can you relate to here? And I want to just talk for a couple of minutes about why this matters. So if you're here in my community, if you're a visionary leader, if you're a soulful creative, soulful business owner, you want to be living and working in ways that are more aligned with your soul, with the natural cycles and wisdom of nature. But how do you know when you're in resistance and when you are waiting for divine timing to be ready to act? So this is it's a deep question. It's a deep question for all of us that want to live in alignment. So what can happen is you might find yourself beating yourself up when you're resisting taking action to share your message, when actually the timing or your energy is not aligned to take that action. But what we can do is we can go into, oh, I'm in resistance, I'm just going to beat myself up. Or the other thing that can happen is you might find yourself pushing through your resistance and taking action, even though the energy doesn't support it and it doesn't quite feel right. And you might be pushing past your own depletion, your need to rest. And then you're not feeling the results. You're not feeling the connection with people. You're not getting the response from putting yourself out there. And the other thing that can happen, and particularly when we're in this, habit of pushing ourselves forward, that we might also then might hold back when the energy is really behind you. You might notice yourself because you come to that threshold of, oh, this energy is here, and you're actually, you've used all your energy in pushing against your resistance, so you can't ride that wave, and not really fully stepping forward to play full out, to really show up and shine or launch, or taking inspired action to create that new piece for your business that you want to share with others. So, and especially, if you've been striving rather than resting or distracting in unhealthy ways, then, when it comes time for that, it's hard to find that energy. So I want to just share a little bit about, the value of embracing each season of your inner cycle. And who here is familiar with the seasons of the inner cycle, like the moon, like the seasons of the year, like the seasons of the menstrual cycle for women. So, and Lila's just commenting here, I often wonder whether I'm resistant or waiting for divine timing. Yeah, I know, but pushing through and holding back, me too. I know all of these as well. Self-compassion and help from others, coaching is very helpful. Absolutely. I totally agree 100% with that. Sometimes we need to get that feedback to know. So there's a beautiful book that I have gotten a lot of my wisdom around this, called Wild Power by Alexandra Pope and Shani. It's the other co-author, called Wild Power, and it talks about the menstrual cycle, but also the moon cycle and the seasons of the year, and the qualities of each of these seasons. So it's like the dark moon is the winter period, and that's also the bleed time in the menstrual cycle, and that's the kind of time where the divine timing is asking us to rest. Like nature does in the winter, things pull back into the ground, the leaves come off the trees and things shrink down, everything, there's stuff going on underneath the surface, but not a lot going on above the surface, when it's cold. So the seeds are growing and they're doing their things underneath. And then in spring, things start to sprout. And so that's an energy. The energy is rising. You're starting to take action, get inspiration. The sprouts are coming. These new beginnings are coming up. And then in summer, and summer is equivalent to the full moon energy or ovulation period in women. And that's when this fertile time, things are blossoming and coming into their fullness. And really, there's so much energy for being out there, for being visible, for getting stuff done. It's kind of big flow. It's good to be, extroverted in the summer period, or do lots of creative stuff. And then comes autumn, and then that's about harvesting, but also pruning back, letting go, clearing out energy, and simplifying things to get clear and coming back into the winter cycle. So that's the idea of some of these cycles that we can align with around our divine timing. And everything has its season. There's a time to rest and a time to play. We're not always necessarily completely aligned with either the menstrual cycle or the seasons of the year, or the cycles of the moon, but this is to give you an idea to really feel into your own creative cycle, for the work that you do. So the beautiful poem here by Mary Oliver, which is so gorgeous for honoring the winter cycle, which is the one that we often struggle with in our culture, of doing this in a nourishing way. It's called Today by Mary Oliver. Today I'm flying low and I'm not saying a word. I'm letting all of the voodoos of ambition sleep. The world goes on as it must, the bees in the garden rumbling a little, the fish leaping, the gnats getting eaten, and so forth. But I'm taking the day off, quiet as a feather. I hardly move, although really I'm traveling a terrific distance. Stillness, one of the doors into the temple. I'm taking the day off, quiet as a feather. I hardly move, though really I'm traveling a terrific distance. Stillness, one of the doors into the temple. And what I love about this poem is that I hardly move, though really I'm traveling a terrific distance. And what I see is that in our culture, we tend to value kind of horizontal travel, traveling across the surface, progress, getting things done that you can see and touch and feel. And we don't value so much the distance that we travel, where we're going into the depths. And it's not visible. It's like the seeds going down, and what's going on underneath the soil in the winter that we don't see. It's hidden and we don't value it, but it's incredibly valued. And I just want to share a few stories with you now, just to shore you up when you feel that call to rest, and how valuable it is to honor those cycles of divine timing. So when I first set up my business just over 3 years ago now, I had just finished 5 years of working as a CEO, really stressful, really busy job. And I was quite depleted after that, doing my handover. And so I went on holidays, and it was during my birthday, which is in August as well. And I noticed that the new moon was on my birthday that year. And I could really feel the alignment of, okay, I've completed this big leadership role that I've been doing successfully for 5 years. And now I'm, coming to launch my business. There's a new moon on my birthday. And I really set my intention just to surrender to the pause in between these two big parts of my life. and let myself have deep, deep rest. So, no TV, gentle walks and lots of lying down and just quietly listening to my body, dozing, resting. And during that, I really felt the energy of the moon, the dark moon coming, and the turn for the new moon and the rising energy. Because I was so quiet, I could really feel that. And I was deep, deep, deep inside myself. And then after those holidays, I created a new website for my business. And I'd written the copy in a few days, with the help of a group that I was a part of. And then I created that whole website, the 3 main pages, the homepage, the About Me, the Work With Me page, in a week, including all the copy, all the photo editing. It was done. And during that, it was real summer period energy. And sometimes I would wake up in the middle of the night with inspiration, and I would be up and I'd be creating my website, and it was super active. In that rising moon and coming up to the full moon, and I completed the website on the full moon. So there was a really, and I think it was because I'd honored that new moon, that rest, that need for rest so much, that I really had the energy to go all out and harness that creative wave when it came to create my website. And it was, powerful and beautiful. But if we tried to stay at that, summer full moon energy all the time, I would completely get burnt out. So that's not a healthy thing to do either. So another story I want to share is a client of mine who recently was, had holidays over the summer. And then she felt like, she had a session with me and she felt like, oh, I should be getting back to it. I shouldn't be getting back out there after the summer and engaging with my audience, and I'm not feeling it. And, we felt into the energy together. She thought it was resistance. She was beating herself up. And what I felt, with her, it's like, no, you're in a winter energy, and just gave her permission to really follow her own energy, to sit and do some knitting and just rest. And in that creative period, that, pulling back, she, was already, she wanted to launch her book. She got a whole new download for a new book title, a new structure of the book that turned it from just an ordinary poetry book into a healing journey through the heart. And it was so powerful and so aligned. And had she not let herself rest, that idea wouldn't have arrived. And then in the next session, together, we got the download, is that this is more than a book. It's also a program. It's something she could do with her essence work, and potentially a whole new business model arriving because of letting there be time for that winter period. And now she's in the summer period of launching her book, and I'll share more about that. She's going to be coming in and speaking to us next month about that. So that's Jo Dyer. And just give you an example of going the other way as well. I did my magnetic presence program this summer, and then it came to launch the next round of it, and then was kind of feeling some resistance, and noticed that I actually hadn't given myself that break and that rest time. I'd rested, but not really replenished and nourished my energy before going into the next launch. And I could feel that it was hard. I was depleted, and I actually had to stop and go and nourish myself before I had the energy to continue with that. So not ideal, but this is why if we're pushing, we can't harness that. So lovely. So I'd love to hear what's your experience around this as well. So so I'm familiar with the inner cycles, and it's helped me to push less and take care of my winter time so that I shine in my spring. Beautiful. So you're on this as well. Yes, Brad saying, even in awareness of my inner cycle, sometimes I resist and hide. So beautiful. And this is why I'm talking about this today. Is it resistance or is it divine timing? Because when we're sophisticated and we know about these beautiful cycles, and what's possible, we can sometimes go into the unhealthy ways of flipping between. And that's what I want to talk about next, the unhealthy ways that we can flip between pushing and what I call stagnating. So there's winter time and resting, and there's also that can become stagnant if we're there too long, or if we're not doing it in nourishing ways, rather than, and that's different to aligning with your divine timing, and that stagnation can be resistance. And so just want to see that rather than, going from a healthy winter to a healthy summer, what can happen is we go from overdoing and pushing and striving and overgiving to an unhealthy stagnation and holding back and unhealthy distractions like the browsing or binge watching, the things that don't feel good afterwards, like eating too much sugar. It's like, oh, this is exciting. And it's like, I had too much of that. So that's when it's not, it can be, resistance. Both ways, the striving, the pushing. And then whereas the habits of shining is, we feel nourished and then we naturally want to shine. And that's, and especially when we're stretching into the next level, really, and I'm seeing so much more that it's so essential to have the nourishing downtime when it's there. Because stepping out in these new ways they are a bit scary. And it can feel safer to hide. So what are your unhealthy habits? What are the things that, it can look like winter, but it's actually stagnation and, and hiding rather than, or, pushing through and pushing past. So I'd love to hear from you on that, because, because it's always about, there's a line from a poem, Rilke poem, my true gift flows from me like a river, not pushing, not holding back, the way children are with you. So it's that not pushing and not holding back, really being aligned. So how do you recognize resistance? How do you recognize resistance and shift the habits of hiding or striving into the habits of shining? So one thing I've noticed, and I'd love to hear your experience around this as well, is the signature of resistance is usually resentment. So, and that can be resentment towards yourself. It could be resentment towards others. It could be resentment towards your business. It could be resentment towards, your work. But often the signature of resistance is resentment. And sometimes this resistance is a sign that you need to rest, or a sign that you need to, overcome the habits of hiding. And with resistance is normal. We all have it. It's like body odor. We all have resistance. It's about turning towards it rather than pushing through it and giving it space and listen for the voice of wisdom underneath. I know I had a very strong voice of resistance pop up a few months ago when I woke up one morning and, my resistance was saying, I don't want to be a leader, and I was kind of getting ready for my next launch. I was like, I don't want to be it. And it was like, we all kind of stamped the foot. No, it's not going to happen. Inner child energy. So I was just kind of going, hello. No resistance. How are you today? What's going on? And just had a chat, with that part of me that's saying, nope, don't want to do it. What's underneath? And, what that voice told me when I turned towards and got present with it is, I don't want to do it the old way. I don't want to be a leader now the way I was a CEO, over 3 years ago, because it was just hard work. I was, doing everything myself, doing more than I should, feeling that it's got to be really hard work. There's not enough support. I've got to overgive, and there's resentment there. And it's like, okay, I hear you, resistance. I hear you, the self that's telling me I don't want to do it that way. So, but rather than going into hiding and, I don't want to do this launch, I don't want to show up. It's like, I don't want to do it the old way. So then it's confronting, because there's some habits there that need to change, of opening up to receive support, to give to myself. And that was confronting to, see, okay, I have to make those changes, because it's not going to work. Taking it to this next level will not work under those old habits. So, and one of the ways that's really good, is either turn towards it yourself, or have, like Lila says, have a coach, have somebody, a friend you trust, who can hold space for you to get in touch with that voice, because sometimes it's hard to listen to what's underneath. And one of the things that's really powerful strategy for getting back in touch with our divine timing is to clear the stagnant energy. So doing some clearing. So clearing out, and that can be decluttering, that can be completing things, making decisions, bringing things to completion. It can be, choosing, investing in next level stuff, or just kind of saying, okay, I'm going to make these healthy choices and let go of those unhealthy choices. So really shifting the habits where you can. So there's a beautiful poem here, and it's a fierce energy to overcome some of the stagnation and resistance. So this, I'm going to share a poem from Adrienne Rich called Transcendental Etude, a little short part of it, which is about this fierceness of showing up in the new ways and letting go, which is kind of an awesome energy of letting go. But there come times, and perhaps this is one of them, when we have to take ourselves more seriously or die. When we have to pull back from the incantations, rhythms we've moved to thoughtlessly. But there come times, and perhaps this is one of them, when we have to take ourselves more seriously or die. When we have to pull back from the incantations, the rhythms we've moved to thoughtlessly, and disenthrall ourselves, bestow ourselves to silence or a deeper listening, bestow ourselves to silence or a deeper listening, cleansed of oratory, cleansed of formulas, choruses, laments, static crowding the wires, cleansed of oratory, formula, choruses, laments, static crowding the wires, clearing out all of that noise. We cut the wires, find ourselves in free fall, as if our true home were the undimensional solitudes, the rift in the great nebula. So clear out all the noise and cut the wires, find ourselves in free fall, as if our true home were the undimensional solitudes, the rift in the great nebula. So this is really, the autumn is cutting away all of the distractions. The winter is like free fall, dropping into the void, into the unknown. No one who survives to speak new language has avoided this. No one who survives to speak new language has avoided this. The cutting away of an old force that held her rooted to an old ground. No one who survives to speak new language has avoided this. The cutting away of an old force that held her rooted to an old ground. So that's Transcendental Etude by Adrienne Rich. Fierce, really fierce, cutting away of the resistance that no longer serves us, dropping in to the void, the great nebula, and cutting away this old force that holds us to our old ground. And then we can trust, when we can deeply listen and cut away the distractions, we can learn to trust and hear the divine timing that's arising for us. It's a deep process of transformation, And, reach out if you need support with this, because sometimes, walking through that, we have to let go of so much old ways of being in order to really be able to listen to the divine timing that's calling us. So beautiful. So I'd love to hear what you're taking away from this. What's the main things that you're taking away from this session today? And if you're struggling with this, DM me, reach out to me. We can hop on a call. I do visibility breakthrough sessions to help you get clear what cycle you're in and what you need support with. And sometimes just hearing yourself think gives you a lot of clarity. Yeah, so beautiful. So Jackie, yes, I feel there is another way. I don't want to do it the old way. Busy, cleansing, decluttering, etc. Yes, I know I have been overeating as a distraction. Yeah, I hear you. But feel something shifting as I step away from distractions and come home. Beautiful, Jackie, beautiful. Feels like the integration of the divine masculine and the divine feminine within no separation from divine nature. Oh, what a gorgeous insight. Thank you so much for sharing that, Jackie. So anyone else, whether you're watching this live or watching the replay, I'd love to hear from you. What's been your takeaways from this? And before I finish, I'll just share a couple of those poems into the chat. So you've got them. That's the Adrian Rich one. And here's the Mary Oliver one. And here we go. There's the other compassion one. Okay, there's all the poems. Let me know how you get on with this. I'd love to hear your insights and reach out if you would love to have a chat. That's all for now. I hope to see you again soon. Take care. Bye.